course, the holiday weekend coming up. Got the next 3 days. You're going to be preparing for the potential for some rain across the area. Satellite radar shows we've already started this wet pattern that we're going to continue to talk about as we go throughout the next 3 days. And you see the bigger picture all across the state. We are seeing again the shower activity. It's all thanks to this cold front, which is going to be moving its way into the area as we go throughout tomorrow into early on Friday morning. And it's going to stall. It's going to hang out. There it is, stalling. And it's going to keep that heavy rain around as we go throughout our holiday. Next 3 days, weather impact alert today, tomorrow, and Friday for the downpours. Possible isolated flooding as we go throughout the next 3 days. And then there's another aspect of this. There is that stalled front. Could see the potential for some tropical development. So join us on 10 Tampa Bay Plus. I'll break all this down for you. All right. Thanks for joining me on 10 Tampa Bay Plus. I'm meteorologist James Hopkins, and again, we're talking about the potential for rain. There is a weather impact alert, and the big impact on this, of course, is we have our holiday weekend coming up. We got a lot of people traveling today. Tomorrow is a big travel day as well, and we're looking at more so than what we call that typical wet pattern where we just see afternoon showers and thunderstorms. We're going to see a morning, noon, and through the night as well. And you already see what we see on the satellite and radar. Cloud cover. We're seeing again those showers, storms pushing their way even further inland. Now we're looking at eastern Polk County and down Highlands County as well. A little bit of a break for the beaches right now, but there is more back behind that. You see it streaming up to our north, all the way just south of Jacksonville. Jacksonville just seeing, again, a few spotty showers right now, but you see offshore there's quite a bit more activity there. And you see that trough developing. We'd have some heat out there. A trough, just an expanded area of low pressure, which is going to help give you some lift there and bring in some more thunderstorm activity. And that's going to be the pattern for the day today. And then as we go tomorrow into Friday, we're watching this. This is going to help enhance that really activity, really kind of steer things into our area, help bring in even more moisture for us as we go throughout your Thursday and your Friday. So here is that cold front that's going to be pushing its way in. It's going to be stalling up to our north as we go throughout Thursday evening and into early Friday morning. It is going to gradually creep its way down to the south as we go throughout the day Friday into early on Saturday, and briefly we could have an area of low pressure developing off the Gulf Coast. Again, this is an upper level low. The thing about this is this will help push some of the heavier rain down to our south as we go throughout the day on Saturday. And then as we go into Sunday, we can see that low pushing off the east coast and taking some of the rain along with it. So what we're expecting over the course of the next 3 days is really, again, higher than normal rainfall amounts. For this afternoon into this evening, we will see the potential for some heavier downpours becoming a little bit more widespread through the overnight and then coming back, and pretty good coverage for your Thursday and for your Friday. Everyone's going to see a great chance for Thursday, and then going into Friday evening, we'll start to see, you can see those yellows pushing down to the south on Friday, and then Saturday into Sunday, we're going to see the potential again of that kind of moving a little bit further off towards the southeast. So the weather impact alert is for the next 3 days. We are looking for the potential for those thunderstorms. We're looking at the potential for some heavy rain. And again, looking forward to the 4th of July, we could see a few thunderstorms. Lightning will be the potential to affect some of those fireworks shows out there. So take a look at your futurecast, and you can see stretching from Jacksonville down to Tampa, Daytona Beach, over towards the east. We'll see pretty much good coverage. Here's your evening, and you can see there will be some breaks in there. So it's not going to be just widespread heavy rain for the next 3 days. You'll get some quiet time. It'll quiet down a little bit overnight. You see for your Thursday morning commute, Jacksonville's kind of dry, but what we're going to see pushing its way into the Nature Coast, down through Tampa and inland, some of those showers and thunderstorms. Of course, you warm things up. We're going to see pretty good coverage across the entire state, at least not for the Panhandle, but Jacksonville all the way down through Daytona, Tampa, even down to Fort Myers. Scattered showers and thunderstorms Thursday afternoon. And again, we have a lot of humidity across the area. Heavy downpours possible. Had an isolated storm yesterday, dumped 2.5 to 3.5 inches across the area. Now as we go overnight to early Friday, kind of the same scenario, but look how the heavier rain for the morning pushes down to the south. The circulation comes back around. We'll see more afternoon, evening thunderstorms. The heaviest rain is going to be in the Tampa area between Fort Myers and all the way up towards the Nature Coast. Jacksonville not looking too bad for your Friday evening if you're going to be heading out for some fireworks shows. Now Tampa is where you got to keep an eye on some of these times. They're going to make those decisions precipitation right before, and you see that heavier rain pushing its way down to the south. So again, what we're looking at is excessive rainfall. Jacksonville is in a marginal, and you see, and this is for the rest of the day today. Tampa is in a slight, so 5% from Jacksonville all the way down the east coast, and then a 15% around the bay from the Nature Coast all the way down to Port Charlotte. Same thing for your Thursday. There is that marginal risk for Jacksonville and Tampa. You're looking at that slight risk as well, just a little bit higher. We have that onshore flow. We'll see a lot more moisture pushing its way in. Again, got a lot of humidity across the area. And then look at Friday. Friday's looking a little bit better. No marginal risk for Jacksonville, and Tampa's taken down from slight to marginal. So we can see again a few isolated heavy downpours as we go throughout your Friday, and we'll see again the potential for some of that localized, some of that street flooding you see out driving around. Now your rainfall forecast over the course of the next 3 days, as you can see there, once it finally populates, it really kind of bullseye around Tampa. Jacksonville looking at about maybe 1 to 1.5 inches. Tampa area 3.5 or 3 to 5. 1 to 3 a little bit further inland. So again, looking at quite a bit of rain. So there's your next 3 days where we do have again weather impact alert for the better potential for some widespread rain as we go throughout the rest of the day today, and then Thursday and into Friday as well. There's your moisture content through the weekend. This is mid-level. This is that tropical moisture that's really going to bring us the heavy downpours as we head towards next week. Then we can see again the potential for maybe that going down a little bit. Excessive rainfall for Saturday does squeeze back just a little bit. Most of the state looks good. Jacksonville looks good. Tampa, again, you're seeing that low chance there, and you'll see the same thing as we go throughout the day on Sunday, that low chance there as well. So we're going to keep a close eye on that for the potential for that heavy rain. Now, this is where we see the second aspect for this. There is the potential for some tropical development. And as you can see, this is kind of squeezed up a little more. This is where I'm going to bring in First Coast News. We got Lee Southwick from Jacksonville, where we're talking about the potential for the tropical development. And Lee, this is again kind of the same pattern as yesterday, pushing a little closer towards you.
It is. So, we're watching those model runs closely. And as you mentioned, too, we can't rule out the possibility of maybe that low pressure forming in the Gulf, and the area of possible development does extend over to you all in Tampa. But we've seen a trend in some models really kind of focusing in the Atlantic now off the southeast coast, which is closer to Jacksonville. So for everyone watching from the Jacksonville area, I just want you to know, although that more of those models starting to trend towards the Atlantic, our forecast as of right now still staying the same. We're still going to see the heavy rain. James talked about the weather impact alerts in effect today, tomorrow, and Friday. Over the weekend, we will have to watch out for increasing wind, maybe depending on where that low pressure center sets up, but it could also wrap in that drier air. He showed you how we here in Jacksonville don't have that heavy rain risk like they do in Tampa when it comes to the weekend. So maybe we'll be in that dry slot too. There's a lot here, James, obviously that's still to be determined. We have that medium chance of tropical development. So, but a lot could change in the coming days as we get that boundary setting up over us, and we get that low pressure forming.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing, depending on where this low pressure forms, because low pressure off the Gulf Coast means increased moisture for us. Low pressure forming off the southeast coast in the Atlantic there, maybe even close to the Jacksonville area, you're looking at all that moisture and all those strong winds being offshore. So the weather impact alert, again, what we're really watching for this is rain going into the weekend, and then that just changes depending on where that low develops and how long the low sticks around to see if the rain chances go up for Jacksonville over the weekend, down for us, and vice versa. So regardless of the development of this, what we're looking at is the rain. So let's look at the European model here, and what has that front will come down again. It's going to stall Friday morning, creep to the south, and this is the European model. Very briefly looking at that area of low pressure developing Saturday morning. Look at that heavy rain pushing towards Miami, and then look what happens as we go into Sunday. It has it sliding its way over to the southeast and right off the coast of Georgia, maybe Charleston area, and then slowly moving its way up. And there's Monday morning, and then it pushes its way up the north and out. So this is why we're talking about brief development possible, but really you can see that it doesn't look to be short-lived. And again, this is the things that we look for when we're forecasting these things is a model agreement. Now, we got the water temperatures. You can see that we have 80s. All you need is 80 degrees, 81 to 84 off the southeast coast, 85, 87 for our area. So you can see we definitely have some warm waters. And what we'll look at is a comparison now that we're seeing these models in a little bit better agreement. And again, there briefly could be that forming Friday, but look what happens as we go into Sunday morning. White lines GFS, green lines European models. Again, starting to come to a little bit better agreement. I know this one's a little hard to see, but again, has it pushing its way up? There it is early Monday night into early Tuesday morning, pushing its way up the Carolina coast and then up and out. This is where it's a little easier to see the model agreement. So here's the forecast winds, and this is going to be the difference of where it forms of whether Jacksonville could potentially see some wind out of this. European model shows late Friday night. There is that spin. You see it off the coast there at Tampa. But what we're looking at is, again, off that southeast coast. You can see the yellow there. That is 20 to 25 knot winds around that area of low pressure. It does pull it back a little bit towards Jacksonville, and that's where you could see the winds. That's where you could see the onshore flow as we go throughout the day on Saturday. Look at the Carolina coast. We got 30 knot winds just offshore. And again, well, then we're going to start to see it push its way in. And there's the circulation right off the Jacksonville coast. It looks like you're going to be on the backside of that. And again, Lee, this is where we're talking about the difference between rain and wind. You could get some dry air coming in, but it could be a little breezy.
Absolutely. And I like that, you showed the water temperatures. Maybe as we look at some of these environmental factors, something for us to keep in mind. So our general manager, Tim Thomas, came to me earlier today and said, I think it's confusing how on Sunday you all talked about a 10% chance, and now all of a sudden it's 40% chance. And we talked about how it depends on those environmental factors. It depends on model agreement. And so I thought maybe you and I could also discuss that, why the forecast has changed and gone up a bit, and how it could continue to change too in the coming days as we head towards the weekend, as we look at these environmental factors.
Absolutely, because here's the European model. And again, you push this on Sunday into Monday, it starts to move its way up to the north. But this is the reason why right here that they upped it to a 40%. Now look at your GFS model, where yesterday GFS was in the Gulf, and actually the day before it had it pushing it over towards Texas. Now look at your forecast winds, and there it is, almost in the same location where you're going to get. This one does have a little bit more of the winds offshore, a little bit less of a wind impact for Jacksonville. It does pull it back a little closer to the coast, and this is where we can see some breezier conditions in the low country of South Carolina, and then gradually pushing its way up towards the north. So the reason why it went from 10 to 20 to 30 now to 40 is because the models do come into agreement, and that's the main thing that we look for whenever we're looking for, hey, this is the potential, because everyone's asked, well, where's it going to be? Where's it going to be? Well, when the forecast model, one shows the Gulf, one shows the Atlantic, and another one, Canadian model, shows nothing. By the way, Canadian model agreeing with this one as well. But now that things come into better agreement, it looks like the best potential is going to be up the coast of the Carolinas as we go through the weekend, Sunday into Monday and into early next week.
And so I think that the takeaway then would be, yes, if we're talking about this system that perhaps forms off the Carolinas, because that is where models are kind of leaning towards now. For us here in Florida and in Southeast Georgia, we're still dealing with the heavy rain today, tomorrow, and even into Friday with that localized flooding risk. But then, as mentioned, maybe we get some drier air wrapping in, and at least here on the first coast too, the breezier conditions. So I think the takeaway for everyone too who might be watching, if they have a little bit of storm anxiety, and rightfully so, is that our forecast really not changing too much. It doesn't look like it's going to significantly impact our forecast from what it already is. And I think, again, the main thing that people need to be concerned about